It's changing so much for me now, Sonia, because it's not only just reprogramming their mind, it's reconditioning their body. I've seen in the last 15, 20 years that it took certain people with health conditions that succeeded at changing it 3 years, 4 years to do it. Never missed a day in doing the work. But they had to overcome so much, not only just their disease. They had to heal their personality. And that's a big deal. And it took longer back then because there was no evidence. But when they stood on the stage and said, hey, I had this health condition, a rare genetic disorder, my doctors told me I'd have it the rest of my life. I got the diagnosis when I was 16 or 15, and I did everything, nothing changed it, but I started doing the work, and they tell the story. The story is an allegory. It gets people involved and relating. And it wasn't always glamorous and perfect. They had some hard hits. I watch this all the time. I watched it in the last event we did in Mexico. 2 people with stage 4 cancer got on the stage and told their story. Excellent, 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 excellent stories. I watched the audience. Nobody moved. Nobody moved. They watched the whole entire thing. A woman with cancer and a young man with cancer. 2 Mexicans. Excellent stories. They come to the end and they went further. Now, someone's sitting in the audience with a rare genetic disorder is the same genetic disorder as that person. They're going to look at that person and say, if they can do it, I can do it. Period. Right? And they're going to do it. But they're going to do it in a shorter amount of time. It's not going to take them 4 years. It may take them a year. It took one lady 3 months. 3 months after having the same genetic disorder as the person on the stage telling the story. 3 months. Why? 4-minute mile. It's in the field. There's evidence in 3-dimensional reality. It's possible for me. So their belief in what's possible is enhanced. Now, that's point number 1. Point number 2. I have worked so hard in getting people to the point where they can forget about themselves and become nobody, no one, no thing, no where, and no time. People, when they finally get this, when they finally realize that when they're pure consciousness and they're connected to the field, and then they start putting their attention on that frequency of oneness and wholeness and tune into it and pay attention to it and stay present with it and become more aware of it and experience it and feel it moment after moment after moment. How much of people's waking day do they put their attention on the field, and how much do they put their attention on matter? I'd say 100% of the time they put their attention on matter. Now, our students are connecting to a greater frequency. They know how to get beyond themselves. They can sit for extended periods of time. They can lock in. They can experience it. I watch. If they're connecting to that level of frequency called the quantum field, where they're experiencing something cool, something greater, that you can't experience with your senses, as you evolve and unfold deeper into it, you experience less separation and more oneness and wholeness. And the more connected you are to it, the less distance between you as a consciousness, free-willed individual, and the consciousness of the objective unified field. The closer you are to it, the shorter amount of time it's going to take for it to appear in your life. Because you're outside the fundamental rules of Newtonian physics and 3D reality. You're changing the field and it changes matter instantaneously. So now we're seeing it happen in a shorter amount of time because we're getting better at it. We're connecting to that field more. And I know this to be the case because when I witness it in week-long events, I know the moment. I can tell you when the energy shifts in the room, and now I know it's going to be fun. Now I know, get ready because the miracles are happening. It'll happen in 1 week. You tell me how a tumor can disappear on a person's thyroid. Not 1, not 2. You tell me how a man with a stroke who's been paralyzed in his arm and leg, that's in his 70s, paralyzed for years, now lifting his arm above his head. How do you explain that? He didn't do that matter to matter. He didn't change his diet. He didn't do physical therapy. He didn't try to have a good attitude and think positively. There was none of that. Something in the field changed, and the pattern of that condition in the field changed. So it is happening in a shorter amount of time. There is no rule. It's about the person's ability to pay attention and to focus, to be greater than their body, their environment, and time. It's their sincerity. It's the engagement when they go sit down and do it. They're not doing, oh man, I gotta do this. That's the wrong attitude. Nothing's gonna happen then. You get there like, I'm going to connect with the divine. This is gonna be a great day. I'm gonna keep my energy up. I'm not getting up until I feel like I'm empowered. That person's gonna have a rockin' day. They're gonna have a good day. So it's not a thing like 3 weeks, because a person could have serious childhood trauma. A person could have a serious past incident. They could have a really serious health condition. And it's their journey. And everybody's journey is unique. And yet, it's difficult to say what causes it. In other words, it's not the good meditations that matter. It's the tough ones that matter. Because when you're sitting in the fire and you're not getting up and you're pushing yourself past that limit, that sets you up for that experience in the future easier. Because you're no longer you. So there's too many variables to this 21 days change a habit thing. It's a very individual process. I have worked on things in my life for years. Finally, I just said, I'm so happy I don't want it any longer. That's the moment it happened. So, it's difficult to give an answer to that because there's too many different variables, and I don't want to mislead people. But what I do know is that it's happening in a shorter amount of time because a collective consciousness, a group of people are all moving in one direction, and they're taking people with them. They're laying footprints down for others to step into. And do I think it's going to happen more? Do I think it's going to be the new normal? That's my hope. Information is so readily available in our world right now that in an age of information, ignorance is a choice. So you don't need an authority to gain information any longer. You don't need a priest. You don't need a governor. You don't need a doctor. You don't need a teacher. You can access information at your fingertips. So then as you begin to discern the information with discernment, the proper and right information, you begin to develop some type of empowerment, because all of a sudden you're seeing possibilities that you never saw before without that information. So you wake up, you become more aware. So the knowledge creates awareness, awareness creates consciousness, consciousness and energy are connected. So there's a change in energy globally going on with the world. Now that knowledge and that change of energy has effects on paradigms that are no longer a vibrational match with that new level of consciousness. So you see a political systems unraveling. You see economic systems unraveling. They're unspiraling, they're unraveling. They can't sustain themselves with this new energy. You see journalism, the environment, education, religion, medicine. It's all unraveling because something greater has to come as a result of a change in consciousness. Now, no victims here, because you and I negotiated from a soul level to be here at this time. This is the time we've been waiting for. This is where it's happening in the Milky Way. It's happening here because there's a true coming of a new consciousness. It's not one person that's coming. It's a group. It's a collective consciousness that's emerging. And emergence is one mind, one heart. And the way you control people is you give them misinformation based on emotions. You control people by controlling their emotions. And media and television and advertisement is a great seduction That people can watch the news and get really angry, then change the channel, and watch a football game and get very excited, then change the channel and watch a sitcom and laugh, and change the channel and watch a drama, and you can change your emotional state because of technology. So then it means then most people are relying consciously or subconsciously on things outside of them to make them feel a certain way. And yet, because there's such a persistence in this energy, when the feeling goes away from that stimulation, here comes that other feeling again. And the energy is accelerating those feelings. So you can talk about the consciousness of the planet, you can talk about solar flares, coronal ejections, the center of the universe lining up, all these end of a cycle. All of this energy is endorsing who you're being, period. So you want to be a victim? Get ready. The energy is going to support you in that. You are going to live it fully. If you're truly engaged in human transformation, and you're truly engaged in opening your heart, truly engaged in the supernatural and the mystical, and you're sincere, that energy is going to thrust you to that outcome, to that end.